If you've ever created a newsletter or had to read one as part of your job, and that means just about everybody, just about every business, nonprofit, organization, for-profit, national company, international company, everybody has newsletters and they try to accomplish so much with their internal communications or their customer-facing newsletters, and yet you've probably hit a wall. Nobody wants to read it. Nobody wants to be influenced. Nobody wants to be taken on a journey led by a newsletter. Why? Because most people think newsletters suck. Today, I'll show you why your newsletters are unloved and unread, while they're ignored and deleted or thrown away faster than you can say Bob's your uncle.
You can devalue, you can have export-led recovery, and Bob's your uncle.
And we'll turn your newsletter into something people want to read. So stick around and let's make newsletters worth reading. Hi, I'm James Callahan, and this is the Do-Over Show, where we turn the ordinary into the extraordinary, even newsletters. But most of us have to read them for our work, and a lot of us have to create them as part of our work. We're like a bad first date, always talking about ourselves instead of asking questions and listening. So let's talk about what's news for them, what's important in their lives, their problems, what they are, and how we can solve those problems by connecting with you and your organization, your service, what you provide. What do they value? What's important to them? How do they narrate their problems? How do they identify themselves? How do they want to be seen by others? And how will what you do, you add, you contribute, make that possible for them? The photos that we use don't look like them or their lives or the way they want their lives to look. Reader eye scan studies say that when we look at a page, even on a computer, our eyes are immediately drawn to the photograph, and only second to that is the caption that we use in the photograph. But most of us are obsessed with the copy. We create so much copy and fill up all the white space that's there that we crowd out anyone's attention. So instead of pursuing copy-heavy newsletters, we should use a photograph. Photographs that are always captioned, and in the caption we refer to the hooks that we're using in the copy that we provide that involves them and their life and solving their problems. So instead of asserting our engineers use state-of-the-art techniques to reverse engineer the H2B7 generator, try when, not if, your generators fail. Our engineers are ready to reverse engineer a solution that works for you. That is, people don't read our newsletters because we write about everyone except them. We make their brains burn extra calories just to discover, to imagine where in the world they might fit into the stories that we're telling them in our copy, in our newsletters. And they won't spend those calories if we make them work so hard at it. We make them find themselves in what we write. And unless you're paid to do that, unless you're paid to be part of this company and required to read the newsletter, you're not going to spend those calories, that energy, in order to create a space that we're supposed to create for others. Heck, your mother won't even read your newsletter. She'll lie and say she does, but she really will never read your newsletter.
You know what? I will have some meatloaf. Let's have some meatloaf.
You want some?
Yes. I knew you'd come. Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
You see, it's our job to create that space in our storytelling, in the way we narrate the problem, not our problem, their problem, and to show them where they fit and how we can be their solution.
Just trying to say is that our new brake pads are really cool. You're not even going to believe it.
So after we begin to tackle the more reader-inclusive approach in writing, then we have to tackle the emotionally inclusive approach to writing.
Let's say you're driving along the road with your family, and you're driving along, la-li-la, woo, and then all of a sudden there's a truck tire in the middle of the road, and you hit the brakes. Whoa, that was close. Now let's see what happens when you're driving with the other guy's brake pads. You're driving along, and all of a sudden the kids are yelling from the back seat, I gotta go to the bathroom, Daddy. Not now, damn it. Truck tire.
And next, Next comes numbers. We all have them, we all have to include them, we all want to include them because numbers will sure show that we're actually doing our job. But our KPIs and our metrics don't. Without a story, without a narration, and without some emotional impact, our numbers are actually soulless. Yes, I'll put it flatly. Our KPIs and our metrics do not matter to our customers. Not even in making professional pitches, B2B pitches, unless there is a context and a story that compares and contrasts to say that our numbers outperform those numbers. Not without that story do our numbers have any significance, or do they belong in a newsletter? So instead of a statistic like 22% of people in this area live in poverty for a family of 4, try, odds are if you live here, you're struggling to get by and living paycheck to paycheck. And that's not enough. That's not right. See, this shows that we can faithfully narrate their story, narrate their problems, and by narrating their problems with that kind of empathy, that's how we gain trust. The next key in getting people to read a newsletter is stop being so doggone difficult. Stop creating a wall of words that we expect people to scale over to get through our mission, vision, values, how we're passion driven. Here's our why, and here's how much we sacrifice. Here's our martyrdom for this cause. Don't you care about us? And next, here's probably the best bit of advice that I have ever heard in years of creating and decades of reading newsletters, and that is, don't call it a newsletter. Nobody wants to read a newsletter.
This is so boring.
So instead, what do you call it? Well, how about good news for a change? At least that faces the problem. Or how about this? This is not a newsletter. I guarantee you, if you send somebody a newsletter that reads, this is not a newsletter, you're at least going to get their attention for a little bit. Okay, and here's probably the biggest obstacle to getting somebody to actually read, open, and engage with our newsletter. It's the biggest problem we face, and that is newsletters are simply our way of validating us. See, this is a bit of backwards advice, but if a newsletter makes you happy, makes you feel good about you, your organization, your company, and your accomplishments, that's not for a newsletter. That's not for an audience. That's for the back room. That's for the water cooler. That's for your annual review. But that is not for an audience. A newsletter gives away something of value to them, something that they will miss if it's not there, and that we build up that expectation. That's a high bar to live up to, and that means that each of our newsletters, however often, have to be something that is actually of value to them. They're not prompted by a new initiative or your fiscal year or an anniversary of something or some great new discovery in your founder's ancient history. It has to be something that's important and current and timely for your audience. And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button? And while you're down there, consider subscribing and ringing the notifications bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'm so glad you found me, and I found you. Thanks.